It's Nicola here at the Disasters Emergency Committee on day 10 of our East Africa Crisis Appeal. And as always, it's very busy here in the DEC offices. This afternoon, I have a visitor who stopped by our offices, our chairman, Clive Jones. So I thought that it would be very interesting to talk about the origins of the DEC and how it all works. Clive, welcome.
Thank you, Nicola. Good to be here again.
Thank you. So how did it all start, the Disasters Emergency Committee?
Well, it began 52 years ago, in the days before there was a Department of International Development, and aid agencies were quite small. So the old Foreign and Commonwealth Office, the Oxford Committee for Famine Relief, that's the body that became Oxfam, British Red Cross, and one of the forerunners of Save the Children. That was the first grouping to get aid following a terrible earthquake in Turkey. They came together. For many years it was chaired by a civil servant, which I am not, and it built up more and more until we became an independent charity in our own right. Now we are the umbrella organisation for the 13 biggest aid agencies in the UK. We're a collective, we're independent of government. We love being supported by government, we love being supported by all political parties, but we regard ourselves fiercely independent. We make our own decisions, and we only help following disasters or conflicts, perhaps sometimes sadly, in the developing world. And it's a wonderful way of mobilising and working with the British public, and we have a track record of raising millions upon millions of pounds. We've talked earlier today how much we've raised, £35 million. Yes. We expect more over the weekend. 2 million has come in from Scotland, $1 million has come in from Wales. So it's fantastic. The whole nation comes together, not to miss out the Irish. The Irish have been very generous.
Three-quarters of a million.
Three-quarters of a million. So the money comes flooding in, because I think our theme has always been better together, and the British public like the fact that we're a collective, like the fact that we put aside any thought of rivalry. Our member agencies stop appealing when the DEC calls an appeal, and everybody floods in here. Normally we're 18 people, suddenly we grow to 70. Becomes a very busy place. The press office, we normally only have a couple of press officers like you, and suddenly that room just to our left, it's suddenly full of 20 or 30 press officers coming in from our different agencies. We get extra marketeers, we get scores of volunteers. So it's a fantastic collective effort, and it works brilliantly.
It does. Well, I obviously know from first-hand experience how it all works, but why don't we share with our viewers how we decide to have an appeal and how we work with our broadcast partners?
Okay. Well, in between appeals, we're not quiet. The 18 people here are still working incredibly hard, making sure that this fantastic machine that we've built up, what we call our rapid response network, can come together during an appeal. We have a crucial person who looks after accountability and works very closely with the aid agencies, Monica. And her team is constantly checking what's going on in the world, tracking what could become a disaster, constantly working with the agencies, keeping in touch with the UN, keeping in touch with DFID and other government agencies. So we're trying to be aware and responsive, both for slow onset appeals, which is like a famine. A famine is going to happen, and many months ahead, as in this case. And therefore we rely on Monica to alert us so that we can try and get ahead and launch an early appeal. In 2011, which was my first appeal, we perhaps appealed too late and 250,000 people died. We're hoping this time in East Africa we'll get the money out quickly, and there'll be far less deaths.
Yes,
so we're tracking. Sometimes it's obvious when there has been an earthquake or a hurricane ripping through the Philippines, or floods in Pakistan, then it's quite obvious that we have to appeal. We have three criteria. Is there a need? Can our member agencies meet that need? Can they actually get into the field and deliver the vital supplies or health or wash facilities or housing? Can they help? And the third criteria is, do we believe we can motivate the wonderfully generous British public to get behind the appeal? So we come together for an instant board meeting. Sometimes we do it in person, sometimes we do it by phone. I've chaired sort of board meetings to decide appeals from the most exotic places in the world. I did one from Hong Kong once, I think. Just because we call an appeal doesn't mean that appeal is going to happen, because we then go to the broadcasters. They have their own concerns about editorial independence. So they go through the same process. They look at the criteria. Mm-hmm. Are they confident there is a need? Are they confident that our member agencies can actually deliver the aid? And when you're going to places like Syria in the midst of a civil war, or you're going to Yemen, which we did with our last appeal, another country riven by conflict, the broadcasters want to be confident that actually, if they are supporting us, that actually we can get on both sides of the conflict and help people in need. And they want to be assured as well that this is a big story which will strike a chord with the British public. If they say yes, and then this great machine that I talked about earlier suddenly bursts into life, and we take on people from everywhere, sometimes it can be incredibly rapid. We've gone to appeal in 36 hours, and you want to try and get out with the appeal when the need is greatest, but also the story is at its height, so you're getting maximum publicity. So we quickly get together appeals. There are a number that we do. There is an ITV appeal, there is a BBC appeal. The ITV appeal goes on and is used by Channel 4, by Channel 5 and by Sky usually. The BBC through a vast organisation, so they go through all their different channels. We usually do a digital appeal as well. So it's finding 3 great personalities, hopefully who have an empathy with our work and an empathy with the particular region that we're appealing for. It's booking the ads. The broadcasters give us all their facilities for free. It's incredibly generous. We're unique in that sense. No other charity in the UK gets that accessibility and that help from every broadcast channel.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously personally know that we work with the BBC and ITV to make those appeal films, and I know that they give that time for free and help us make it for free. But I also know, sitting behind the scenes here, that when the BBC appeal airs and then ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5 and Sky also have an appeal on, and it all goes on the same day, that I can sit here and watch the Traffic Tower website just skyrocket as the British public respond to those appeals. It's truly incredible seeing it from behind the scenes and seeing that the power that partnership has to motivate the public to give, to understand that this is these are very significant humanitarian crises, and that's why we need to all work together to be stronger and bring in as much money as we possibly can to act. So this is my next question really is about the acting together and making sure that money gets to the people that actually need it. How do we go about ensuring that happens, and how quickly does the money get out there to the countries that need it?
Okay, so we have a set formula for our 13 member agencies. Now, sometimes, not often, but sometimes, not all our agencies are active in the area that we're working in, or they don't have good partners that they can work with. So the pot is then divided up a slightly different way. But the great thing about DEC money is it comes from the British public, and unlike money that might come from government or international organisations, the European Union or the UN, we just say go. Go and help people in need, whatever the need is greatest. Different agencies have different specialisms. Some might concentrate on water and hygiene. Some might have a great specialism in malnutrition and food. Others have great specialisms in shelter, temporary shelter or permanent shelter. they know very quickly how much money's coming in. They're pre-prepared because they're part of us. They know we're going to appeal, and we can usually get a gut feel for how much money we're going to raise. So they're working out. It's usually a 2-year program. Obviously, the first tranche of money that we release as it comes in goes for the most urgent needs. Whether it's sort of providing the medical help or those instant supplies, those instant tents, those instant tarpaulins. But then over time we can have more developed, thought-through programs that they can work on. To the extent that in the Philippines we raised a fabulous sum of more than £80 million. So we were able to deal with the immediate needs of medical aid, of water, of food, and of temporary shelter. But over time, when I went there about 6-9 months after the appeal, Oxfam, courtesy of DEC money, was helping to rebuild the fishing fleet in Tacloban. So I had a fun day actually helping people launch boats. And it was also life-changing because suddenly the boats were now going to be owned by the community, not a businessman perhaps in Manila. And suddenly for the very first time, and there was a brilliant thought by a young Filipino guy working for Oxfam, he said, why don't you get insurance? So we actually funded the first year of insurance for the boats. So please God, another hurricane doesn't hit that area. But if it did, they'd have the money now to replace the fishing fleet. So sometimes it's immediate aid. Sometimes our aid agencies, because the British public are so generous and give us so much money, they can concentrate on more sustainability over time. So also, occasionally it can be cash, it can be money to restart a business, it can be money to buy new livestock, or money to buy seed after a terrible drought period, so that actually when the rains come, they can start growing crops again.
Now that's very interesting. So, and I was just thinking before we wind up today, it's Friday in our second week of our fundraising appeal, and it's Red Nose Day today as well. So I was wondering how do we work alongside partners like Comic Relief to raise much needed funds?
It's very interesting because there have been times when a terrible disaster strikes, and we're very close to the BBC launching these fantastic appeals for comic relief or sport relief or children in need. And we used to worry terribly that we would cannibalise, the money that floods in for comic relief. And, watch it tonight and donate as much as you can, please. But we quickly discovered that actually we don't cannibalise each other. There's times when we've launched close to children in need or close to comic relief. We've pulled in more money, and the BBC charities have pulled in more money. So it's a fantastic sort of collaborative effort. And Comic Relief have been incredibly generous to this appeal. I think they're sending more than £1 million to East Africa, and I think about £800,000 of that is coming to us. So a big thank you to everyone at Comic Relief. We thank them for their generosity, and we hope they have a brilliant appeal tonight.
And we certainly do. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Clive. That was very, very interesting. And for the viewers out there, if you have any other questions that you'd like to ask about the way that the DEC works, what your donations will be used for, any other information, how aid will get through, please do share those questions on our social media channels, and I can have a guest along on the sofa to answer those questions. So please do keep asking your questions. That's all for today. Thank you.